Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Nikitinaknits. My name is Evgeniya, and in this video I'm so excited to speak about tea knitting patterns that we can knit both for springtime and for summer. I personally think that this is a perfect time, April, to start knitting your tea, because I don't know about you, but I prefer fingering and sport weight teas, and they do take time, and if we want to enjoy them during the entire summer, this is the perfect way to start the project without rushing to finish this. Most of them are my favorites, the patterns that I want to knit for years, but I still haven't found the time yet. And I'm personally very picky about the construction, so I do pay attention to details, to the shaping, to the whole experience of knitting the pattern. So I try my best to make sure that the pattern is going to be more or less clear and it has good reviews. And as usually during this type of videos, I do comment on the yarn choice by the designer and my personal opinion on that. Would I go with this yarn, or maybe would I go with something else? With that being said, grab your knitting, grab your favorite drink. Today I'm having some red tea, and let's enjoy some of the gorgeous tea knitting patterns for spring and summer. The first one is on my list for ages. I want to knit this since I started to learn how to knit, I swear. So this is Dain Tee by Moreca Knit. It is so beautiful that I want to make both tea version and the sweater version. If I were to knit the sweater version, I would just extend the sleeves, and that would look also absolutely gorgeous. And if we look at the details of this tea, it's just fascinating. Such beautiful shaping and the shoulder slope, the back neck shaping, the beautiful, completely perfectly rounded neckline, and overall very polished appearance, very finished look is driving my attention to this pattern. Dain Tee does suggest great amount of positive ease, and even though I'm not a big fan of very oversized garments, I do think that a good amount of positive ease for this specific project is a perfect choice. Specifically during summer, I do appreciate air going through my body and being able to breathe and not sweat into the garment. I think it could be worn both with shorts, with jeans, and with skirts, linen trousers. The designer chose pure cashmere for this item. She knitted her tee in Cardiff Cashmere Classic, but if we go to the Ravelry project page and we see different examples, we can see how the tee appears completely differently depending on the yarn choice. So when I saw samples that are knitted completely with plant-based fibers, viscose, cotton, linen, all of these fibers that do show imperfections and do feature great amount of drape, I personally didn't like this type of look. So you can do the same. You can go to Ravelry, to Instagram hashtags, and see if you like plant-based fibers in this tee, because of course it's very convenient to use plant-based fibers for the summer, but you decide if you like the look, because I still prefer either cashmere or merino, or maybe blend of 70% wool and 30% plant-based fiber, because in this design we have finishing that requires great amount of shape, great amount of stability. So if we use something so drapey like with silk or with viscose or even linen, it might be quite irregular or messy. But depends. If you prefer really handmade look and you don't mind this type of look and you actually enjoy it, that's another conversation. But I personally prefer very, very polished look, and I would need this garment from recommended yarn from Cardiff Cashmere Classic or Pasquale Cashmere 628. These are two of my favorite cashmeres on the market. By the way, if you go for Pasquale Cashmere, I do offer 10% discount through my link. You can find this link down below in the description box. The construction is knit bottom up. You just knit in the round up to the underarms, then you split for front and back panels, and then you shape the neckline and the shoulder slope, and you bind off with the 3-needle bind off, I guess, if I'm not wrong, and that creates a way more sturdy seam here at the shoulder, and a lot of knitters do prefer that. I constantly speak about these type of choices, if bottom up or top down is better, and I already get responses from knitters in my comment section that a lot of them actually do prefer bottom up because of the seam that creates a way more sturdy experience of wearing the garment. So I would definitely go for this construction and this beautiful pattern overall, and I hope that you can enjoy this too one day. The next one is Surzhik Pullover by Olena Sitalkina, a Ukrainian designer that really admire. If you watch my videos, you know about this for sure. I'm her biggest fan, I think, and she has this beautiful pullover. Now, it could be knitted as a pullover with a long sleeve in the warm yarn, or it could be knitted as a short sleeve in the summer yarn. And I guess she's giving, I'm sure she's giving instructions for both versions. And you can see from her website, from the samples, how it behaves in the wool yarn and how it behaves in the plant-based fiber. So these type of designs are very plain, and you can play with the details as much as you want, creating different look. So if we look at first, obviously it's just a simple v-neck t-shirt, right? What's so special about it? But because of the shaping and such perfect fit, she has the bust shaping, there's amazing shaping of the neckline. As you can see, it's not just straight v-neck down, but it has gradual increases that shape very beautiful V that has a little bit irregular shape. If you appreciate these details just like I do, you can find this pattern very useful because you can create so many different looks with only one structure. So for example, you can do different finishings here at the V-neck. You can do a night-cord, crochet edging, lace edging, reaped, 2x2, 1x1, 3x1. Actually, if you go to Instagram and find the hashtag, you can see many different versions with modifications. So what else to say about this tee? This is a very classic tee that features a shoulder that is going all the way along your shaping. So very proper shaping with great amount of positive ease. So you breathe and you feel free in the garment, with great bust shaping. So the fabric is not being pulled to the front, because even if we don't have big breast, I don't have, for example, a big breast, but if I just stay straight and there's no bust shaping in a t-shirt, I do see the fabric is being pulled to the front. This problem appears not only in the knitted garments, but in the store-bought pieces where creators didn't take care of the bust shaping. So I wish more and more designers would implement the bust shaping. I know it's way more complicated to grade the sizes and everything, but when the designers do that, I just admire them. This is amazing. So this is one of these patterns. Regarding the gauge, there are 3 gauges mentioned in the pattern, and in the chart you can see how your size is going to change depending on which gauge you're choosing. So she's mentioning 27, 26, and 25 stitch gauge for the pattern. So what would I choose if I were to knit the t-shirt, the short-sleeved version for the summer? I'm the person who does prefer merino and other wools for the summer, mixed with a little bit of plant-based or silk fibers. I'm hiking in the wool, I'm cycling in the wool, and I do feel completely comfortable with this, especially with the fact that wool, specifically merino wool, is very antimicrobial, which helps a lot during activities and overall during the summer experience. So my choice would be Pasquale Pinta, and this is something I do want to try since I remember myself knitting. This yarn really attracts me with this composition. So 60% extra fine merino wool, super soft, 20% silk, and 20% rami. Rami is a type of plant. And I'm really wondering how this yarn would feel on the body, how would it transform with the blocking, and people really, really love it. Regarding the construction, you're knitting this top down completely seamlessly. You start at the back doing a lot of interesting shaping with different amount of short rows, different styles of short rows, and then you connect everything in the round while increasing at the same time for the contiguous shoulder. And then you keep increasing both for the body and the sleeves at the same time, shaping the beautiful v-neck with these gorgeous increases that add a detail actually to this design. And of course doing bust darts and finishing the whole body. After you're done with that, you just keep on knitting the sleeves in the round to desired length, finishing with this gorgeous folded over neckline. Wonderful, wonderful design, and I just can't wait to make so many versions from this pattern. Another similar tee but with more detail, and actually this is also one of my favorite designers, Dain Tee by Celine Feyten. This tee was just released last year and I'm so impressed with all of the details. At the same time, I want to note again that you can change the design. So for example, if you're not such a fan of lace and broken rib patterns here and the sleeves, you can just do stockinette or maybe do some other pattern motif. I actually like this lace, but depending on the yarn choice and the color, maybe I would just go with stockinette. What also attracted me is a very, very deep, perfectly rounded neckline, which is not so easy usually to make in this type of construction, which is again contiguous saddle shoulder, just like in the previous pattern. And I'm just impressed with this. At the same time, we also have the buzz darts in this pattern. Thanks again, which is so important, especially in more fitted garment. This garment is looking fitted, but it's not too tight on the body, still has great amount of positive ease. And overall, it looks so polished, so beautiful and effortless at the same time. But it does take a lot of effort, I guess, because it's a light fingering project, which is perfect for the summer. I don't really like DK weight projects. I do have experience of knitting and wearing a DK tee pattern, and I don't really enjoy such thick garments during the summer. So it is worth all of the effort if you're also appreciating light fingering projects during the summer. I think it looks beautiful both with casual outfits where we just have our jeans or trousers for everyday wear, or for some beautiful occasions where we can maybe tuck in this beautiful tee in the skirt or trousers again and go out, depending on the yarn choice again and how much you would appreciate the yarn that you chose. There's so many different details that make me want to stare at the garment. For example, the neckline has a different ribbing. First we have 1x1 ribbing, then a row, like it's a pearl row, I guess, or any sort of row, and then we have 2x2 ribbing. At the sleeves and at the hem we have a folded over finishing with the beautiful knit row across the whole finishing. Looks amazing, and I did this already in one of my projects. It does take effort, but it looks so beautifully finished. And this type of finishing doesn't let the garment to stitch in, and usually in the plant-based fibers the ribbing looks quite messy, so I'm always looking for different opportunities how to finish my item without using the ribbing. So this is one of the chances. The stitch gauge is 27 stitches per 10 centimeters, and the recommended yarn is Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino. This is 70% cotton and 30% wool, which is, I think, a really nice combination if you do enjoy cotton, but you do want to add some antimicrobial qualities to the garment. You add some lightness and some breathability to the garment, and it's not so much wool to make you feel too warm or too uncomfortable if you don't prefer wool during the summer. Really perfect combination. So if you do enjoy cotton yarns for the summer, both knitting them and wearing them, this is a perfect choice. So I do look forward to see even more different modified versions on Ravelry. Hopefully you can enjoy this garment as much as I do. The next one is Grace Tee V-neck by Adorable Knits. Adorable Knits also has the crew neck version of such tee, but that crew neck is very close to the neck, so I didn't choose this pattern. I do prefer like open chest for breathability for the summer specifically, and this V-neck is so beautiful. I specifically like the versions with a bit more oversized fit, where the V-neck is not too shallow but a bit more deep, because since it features folded over finishing, it does look a bit not bulky but very detailed, and it does grab your attention towards the chest. I didn't really like the versions that are with too shallow v-neck, so this is what I paid attention towards. Another point is that again we have folded over v-neck and folded over finishings on the bottom of the body and in the sleeves, and that allows us to play with plant-based fibers. If you're also so picky about ribbing, any sort of ribbing in plant-based fibers, I don't like any of them. They all look weird if it's linen or cotton or silk, and this is the tee that is not going to show those imperfections from plant-based fibers, and we can fully enjoy the breathability and all of the qualities from plant-based yarns. Regarding the fit, this is very free, slightly oversized tee with a raglan construction that looks both a little bit official and put together, but at the same time very casual. I would say it's perfect both for working in the office and going outside for a walk and just hanging out outdoors during the summer, during the spring. Very beautiful, and I think it could be also nice with a long sleeve version in this very tiny gauge. It is a fingering weight with 26 stitches per 10 centimeters. And I do enjoy very thin garments and very thin needles. They do have specific quality that I enjoy both in knitting and in wearing, even though they do take a lot of time. Also in the pattern, we have a striped version. The stripes are very thin and placed quite far apart from each other. Very beautiful and elegant. And as usually, I would choose low contrast colors if I were to go for a striped version. It is knitted on 3mm needles with the yarn that is called WAC Collection Linea. So that's the blend of alpaca, linen, and silk. I personally don't like alpaca during the summer because if I start to sweat even a little bit or I get warm, alpaca starts to poke me. And even if it's the softest alpaca in the world, I guess I'm not going to be a fan of it anyways. I do prefer alpaca for cold season where I'm not going to get too warm in it. So I would for sure replace this yarn, and I have plenty of options because, as I already mentioned, we can use both very drapey yarns, plant-based yarns, and I'm not going to mention a specific yarn for this design, but I do suggest that you check two videos that I created last year, best summer yarns to use. They're not best, they're my choices, my favorite yarns of different qualities, different weights for different projects. So there I just have the list of yarns that I go through, their qualities, and what projects they're best for. And there you can find so many options, not only for this project, but for other projects as well. Two links are going to be also down below. The construction is completely seamless, top down, very simple, no need to think, very nice for taking to your vacation, taking to a train, to a trip. I really enjoy this type of projects. And with this simplicity, it still looks beautiful, elegant, and detailed. Detailed enough to not be bored. So this tee definitely goes to my list. Will be knitted in warm yarns, in plant-based yarns for sure. Tee version, long sleeve version, very, very beautiful design. And I hope you can knit it one day too. The next pattern is Bloodroot Tee by Andrea and Gaughan. And honestly, I would need this tee long sleeved because this is a pattern with a negative ease that has to be 5 centimeters smaller than your chest circumference, and that means it is quite tight. So I would wear it during early autumn and late spring when it's not too hot and still a bit chilly outside, especially during the mornings and during the evenings, and you don't sweat a lot yet. I don't sweat overall a lot, but if it's hot and I'm going somewhere and it's daytime, obviously it is not so comfortable to wear something so tight. But I'm still featuring this tee in this roundup because it is designed as a tee, and maybe some of you do enjoy quite tight garments during the summer. So what attracted me with this design? First of all, this beautiful strapped version with folded over neckline, and the strap also goes along the neckline. I found it very beautiful and polished. Second, I do like 2x2 rips and flexible garments that are going to kind of bounce on me. They wear out quite nice, they're warm, and I do enjoy wearing them tucked into my trousers or skirts. So I would pick a very interesting yarn and enjoy the whole project. And I've seen great amount of versions on Ravelry. It is actually a new pattern that was released in March of 2026. I did not mention this in my previous video, which was with the new patterns from March of 2026. And if you want to see that video, it's just my last one on my channel, and also the link is going to be down below. So many gorgeous patterns, so much inspiration. So it is very beautiful, and I really like a lot of most of the versions on Ravelry. There's already 83 objects as I'm recording this video, so you can go and check out different yarns, how it looks, different feet with negative ease, even with a little bit of positive ease, which I wouldn't do it with positive ease, honestly. Anyways, interesting design. I know that not a lot of people prefer such tight fitting garments, but we have enough of oversized garments in the market. There's plenty of them to choose from, and there are not so many that are very fitted, really nicely shaped, easy to knit, easy to understand, with enough of finished details that look gorgeous. It is knitted on 2.75mm needles with 30 stitches per 10 centimeters in a ribbed pattern, and the yarn that is used is knitting for olive merino, 100% merino. So I do enjoy knitting for olive merino, and I would knit a lot of garments in this yarn more and more and more, but I don't really enjoy this for ribbing. It looks nice, it looks beautiful, and the design and sample look amazing, and if you enjoy it, of course go for it. But I would prefer a bit more rounded yarn. Knitting for olive is rounded, it is spun, but it's not so firm. It is a bit lofty if we take a close look at the structure, because it's really carded wool. And with time, it does shrink a little bit as you wear it and wash it. With each time, it's just tiny bit shorter constantly. So it will expand just a tiny bit in width and shrink just a tiny bit in length, which is still fine, but this is something to take into account. My choice would be something a bit more different. First of all, I would like something that is more moisture resistant and more used to being wet, you could say. Looks like I'm sweating a lot. I'm not sweating a lot constantly, but I just take into account these type of moments because it is very fitted garment and I do want to wear it for many years. And I will wash this garment quite often, way more often than other regular garments with way bigger positive ease. So I'm considering yarn that could be maybe even washed sometimes on the wool cycle. But I don't really like superwash yarn, so it's a problem. Or even hand wash very often does wear out the garment. So I do have in mind Pasquale Baby Merino. This is the yarn that is now in my stash. It arrived and I didn't knit with this yet, but I see how rounded and perfect the structure is already for these type of garments. So this yarn is being treated with a specific enzyme that is present in nature, is not superficial or is not a chemical. And this enzyme is allowing you to wash this yarn in the washing machine on the wool cycle. So we're achieving a washable merino wool that doesn't feel superwashed, that doesn't feel slippery or glossy or shiny, but it is still already treated in the way that is going to be a bit more resistant to wear and more resistant to wash. At the same time, it is organic, sustainable yarn that you can wear next to skin and not being afraid of getting an allergy or getting harsh chemicals into your body as you're wearing it and getting warm in this garment. So I would go for it. The colors are also beautiful, not so many of them, but really nice. And don't forget that you have 10% discount if you buy anything from Pasquale's website through my link. It is also down below. The construction is completely seamless and top down with the Japanese shoulder construction or European tailoring shoulder construction, where imitation of the seam is just a tiny bit at the back, sloped, and that creates a very beautiful polished look. So you start at the back panel, increasing for the shoulder slope, then you knit the front panel right, front panel left, and connect everything in the round with the neckline and increasing both for the sleeves and the body at the same time, just like you would knit a contiguous shoulder construction down to the armholes, splitting for sleeves, knitting the body down to a desired length. There's an optional waist shaping if you prefer it to be completely fitting your body, and then finishing the sleeves to your desired length. So beautiful design. I can't wait to knit it with a long sleeve version. Striped or plain, I don't really know. I like both of them. But we'll see. The next one is quite a fresh pattern as well that was released in July of last year. This is Dara Tee by Christina Körber-Reith, a German designer that I'm discovering lately. I have not knit anything from her, but again, what attracted me from this designer is plain constructions with very smart, very beautiful fit that could be customized at your choice if you just add your own details. So this tee attracted my attention with a very interesting construction. It is kind of a combination between contiguous shoulder and the raglan. So it gradually expands here to the side of the shoulder and then goes down with raglan increases. Very beautiful, very simple, and I'm just curious how is the rate of increases, how it's knitted, and it fits really nicely. At the same time, we have very beautiful, very deep, rounded neck and very tiny lace details at the side of the body and of the sleeves. Such tiny details is something I always appreciate because I can't handle too many details in the garments overall, and I would definitely need as it is presented. The only thing that still bothers me, as I already mentioned, is the ribbing in plant-based fiber. And I do want this garment in a completely plant-based fiber. So what I would do is I would just maybe replace it with an I-cord or maybe with a folded over edge or maybe with a welt edge. I don't really know, but I would experiment with something both in the neckline and in the finishing of the body. Overall, I really enjoy the freedom and the amount of positive ease in this tee. I would like a drape, good amount of drape in this garment, and it's not going to take so much time because it is actually a DK weight or light DK weight project. Well, depends how much breathability you want. You can pick the sport weight yarn and still knit it on gauge and you will achieve way more breathability. But with this choice, the garment is going to be stretching a bit more. Take this into account. The stitch gauge is 22 stitches per 10 centimeters and it is knit on 3.75 millimeter needles with two yarns held together, lace weight and a sport weight. That's why I'm saying it can be still a sport weight project. So the yarn that is used is Offeciers 301 and Offeciers 302. It is the same exact yarn, just with different weights. This is a blend of 50% linen, 30% cotton, and 20% lyocell. I think this yarn is beautiful. The texture is beautiful. It lines up very nicely into the fabric. I've seen many different finished objects for this, and I would actually use this yarn for this project. It looks beautiful, but if I wouldn't have it in stash and I have to buy it, then maybe I would go for a little bit more drape. So I would go with 2 strands of Teen Linen by Sadness Garn, which has a bit more viscose content. It is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. Very interesting combination. It is quite a famous yarn. That's why I didn't mention it in many of my videos, because it's quite a popular yarn that does not need an advertisement or attention much. And I do enjoy this yarn. I didn't knit with this, but I've seen this yarn in the yarn shop, and I've seen many different objects, both in real life and in Ravelry, and it looks beautiful. So I would use 2 strands. Sadness Garn has a DK weight of it, actually a heavy DK weight, but I do enjoy the fabric that is knitted with 2 thin strands rather than 1 thick DK. It just looks way more beautiful and more drapey. The construction is completely seamless and tom down. You start at the back, doing probably great amount of shaping, increasing for the shoulders and for the neckline, and eventually connecting everything in the round, and keep on knitting, increasing both for the sleeves and for the body. I think there's also should be some sort of armhole shaping, and then you knit your body down to your desired length. I would block the item before binding off or doing any sort of finishing, because plant-based fibers always are unpredictable, like most of the fibers in my opinion, and I do like to block my items before finishing. So when you're done with this, you do the sleeves to your desired length, and you're finishing the garment. I hope to see some of your versions of this designer. I think she does deserve attention. Wonderful projects, complex, beautiful, and minimalistic at the same time. And I just dream to knit this tee one day for sure. And I wonder what type of finishing would I go for. And the last one for today is Lanikai Tee by Sallyknit. Sallyknit is a Korean designer, and I did mention her a few times in my Korean pattern roundups. Check those videos out. I do have an entire playlist on my channel. If you're new here and you haven't seen those videos, you can get a lot of inspiration. And specifically, I do suggest to see summer patterns from Korean designers. Last year I created a whole separate video about it. So many beautiful designs. Korean designers are very creative when it comes to summer and spring knits. So Sallyknit created this wonderful tee that is a round yoke construction. Not so many round yokes I actually prefer, to be honest, but this one really grabbed my attention. I don't know what it is specifically. I think it's the whole combination of the lace motif that is not so screaming but still grabs your attention and allows actually breathability through the garment. I enjoy lace details in the summer patterns. Very great, generous amount of positive ease, 20 to 25 centimeters, designer recommends, and slightly open gauge in the fabric actually also grabbed my attention, I think. I see this very relaxed, very breathable, super chilly outfit where I just wear my linen trousers, where I wear this beautiful tee, and I just chill at the beach. This is how I feel it. And I really enjoy the amount of drape that this garment has. So what else do we see from the details? Very great, generous round neck, also quite low at the back, so you do have great amount of breathability. Twisted stitches that the garment starts with, so even though I'm not a fan of ribbing, twisted ribbing is actually an option because it hides all of the imperfections of the fabric. And if I were to knit this tee, for sure I would like to go with 100% plant-based fiber, because I see this garment, as I already said, during the hot summer, beach time, vacation time, and I do think that this stitch motif shows plant-based fibers quite well. And I would go for light color, maybe a cream or completely white. It shows the lace pattern really beautifully. So the yarn choice is a Korean yarn, which is Nakyan yarn Deer Linen, I think it's called. It is a mix of viscose, like a lot of viscose, 70% of viscose, 17% of linen, and 13% of polyamide. Now, what I think polyamide does, it adds structure to the garment. It is very small amount of polyamide, but it will strengthen the fabric, and the garment is going to last longer, I guess, because viscose is going to stretch, is going to swim all over as you block it. I do have experience with this, and since the gauge is a little bit open, a little bit of structure makes sense. So why I say the gauge is a little bit open, because we have 22 stitches per 10 centimeters on 3.5 millimeter needles with a light fingering weight yarn, and we can also see it from the pictures. So what about my choice? I recently bought something very, very special. I'm so excited. I can't wait to start knitting with this. I bought it for the top quantity, summer top. I want to try how it feels and how I like it or not, and then buy maybe for a whole t-shirt quantity. So this is linen by Pasquale, a new yarn that they just released. And this is so special. I saw the entire interview with the owner of the brand, Paul Pasquale. It's actually in German, so I had to put subtitles and listen a lot about it. And it just blew my mind. Just like any yarn from them, I'm a big fan and I'm so happy to be actually their partner. But even if I wouldn't be their partner, I would keep speaking about them in my videos because they're just amazing. So what about this yarn? First of all, it's 100% linen that has a very interesting chain airy structure. And I'm not a fan of linen overall. I'd never knit with linen because it's quite heavy, it's a little bit rustic, it doesn't behave well. I do enjoy store-bought garments from linen, but knitting with this, I just didn't feel like it. But when I saw this yarn, I saw how drapey it is, how lightweight it is, and how interesting the structure is. I immediately thought that I want to try it. And I saw the finished objects already, even though it's a new yarn, and I'm very, very excited. Besides that, it is naturally dyed fiber. So all of the components that were used to dye this yarn are from nature. Sandalwood, pomegranates, different seeds, like I'm just so impressed. And I've never seen, in my experience, I've never seen a commercial yarn that is naturally dyed and that is available at this quantity, right? So I think this is a perfect choice for this project. It would show off a really beautiful in such garments or any other garment. And remember that you do have 10% discount if you buy through my link, because the yarn is really not cheap. It is quite pricey. So now the construction, it is knitted completely top down seamlessly. You start here at the neck and doing the twisted stitches, twisted ribbing, then enjoying this gorgeous all over lace motif that is switched with stockinette panels, then doing raglan increases to the sleeves, finishing the body and finishing the sleeves to your desired length, and enjoying the whole garment. Again, before binding off, I would suggest to block the garment and see how much it grew or it didn't grow. And I hope you can enjoy this beautiful pattern, and it's definitely going to my list again. So that was it I wanted to share with you today. I'm so excited for the summer, and I hope you got some inspiration and some useful information for the yarn choices and for your ideas for the future patterns. I'm actually filming in my new location. We just moved into our house. It has a lot of echo here in the room, so I hope the sound is more or less okay, but it is going to improve with time. I'm going to set up my recording studio, and it's going to become better with time. It's just the first time, and I hope it is a good attempt, because I couldn't hold myself from speaking about these beautiful tea patterns that I had in mind for so long. Please share with me what you're knitting on right now so I can get some inspiration from you. Thank you very much for being here, for watching, and I'm hoping to see you soon in my next video.